builds us up too.
But he would never be a part of my life until I was gone. He would tell me that. He told me at 13 that I was going to amount to nothing, that I would be nothing, and that he thinks I'm a horrible human being at 13 years old. He did that, threw me into walls, put holes in walls with my body, hit me with rakes. I was hit with a rake on my back because I broke the vacuum bag that I didn't know how to take out. Um, I just know that there was so much pain, and he did it to me. He did it to my sisters. So there was no like person that wasn't, feeling his wrath. He put a gun to my mom's head in front of me, and I called the cops, and my mom told the cops like, no, nothing happened. So she always like protected him. And so I never really knew like love. I never really knew what it was like to be loved, because my mom, I felt, never loved me because she never really took care of me in the way that I thought a mom should be taking care of me. Although my mom did take care of me because she put a roof over my head and she gave me food, which is what she thought love was, but she didn't know how to love me because she felt naive in the way that she was growing up in her life, because she grew up without a father too. Her dad died when she was 15, and she had 8 brothers and sisters, and she was the third oldest. So she had to take care of herself. After the age of 15, she just had to take care of herself. Like there wasn't anybody else to take care of her. So I understand where my mom came from. I love my mom to this day. Yes, my mom put me through a lot of pain and suffering just with just being with somebody who was on meth. And I don't know if anybody's ever lived with anybody on meth, but they don't have really a lot of compassion for someone. They're very selfish, very unloving, and pretty much have lost their mind, which is why he would put a gun to my mom's head in front of me. And I felt like I dealt with a lot of physical abuse with my sisters, because all we did was grow up not knowing who we were in God, and not knowing like how to really talk to each other, because all we knew was like, well, you hit people when you're mad, and you yell at them, and you call them names, and you tell them they're horrible, just because that's what I grew up knowing. And so I tried to get away from that. And so I moved to Los Angeles at the age of 17, graduated a year early just so that I could move and find my own self and my own life. And what I found was like I found a guy who was my first husband, and he was in the military, and he seemed like he was a stability for me. But then that generational curse came, where he was an alcoholic, and he would get blacked out drunk, and he would spend all of our money, and he would like not really care that I'm his wife. It's like, spend $1,500 gambling and on alcohol because you blacked out and you don't remember, or not knowing where you were the night before, or, flirting with women in front of me. So I ended up being with somebody who was just like my father. And so that was really, really traumatizing for me, because I had to see myself be my mom, which is something I never wanted. And then my second husband was abusive, like my stepfather. So I kept chasing this relationships that I knew instead of trying to find something else. Mommy, I fell off the ladder. Okay, I'm sorry, baby. You're okay. I'll be right with you, okay? Okay. And so I could see myself following my mom's footsteps, but I had run away from my life to try to not follow my mom's footsteps. But I just felt attracted to people that had hurt me in the past, because it was all that I knew. And so I would chase success. I literally chased success. I became a general manager by the time I was 23 years old, a regional manager, national trainer by the time I was even 28. I made up to $80,000 even at the age of before I was 30. And that was because I was trying to prove to myself that I was worthy, that I was worth something, that I was able to be loved by somebody. And even if it was just myself and just money. And so I didn't need anybody. I never wanted to need anybody ever. And that was my thing, was like, I'm never going to need somebody ever. And I did successfully achieve financial stability and never had to need anybody. But what does not needing anybody do for you? Nothing. And so when I met Vince, I felt like met him in a broken place. And so him and I went through a lot of drama in our relationship because I didn't know who I was and he didn't know who he was after he was going through his divorce. And so we started a relationship on a foundation that wasn't solid. So when our relationship actually physically ended at one point and we no longer lived together or we no longer wanted to be together, although I did want to be with him, I just knew that there was something in both of us that was broken, that we couldn't put two broken things together, because two broken things together just still have a crack in it. And so God actually saved me at C3. So a lot of, you know me from there. And when I decided to get back with Vince, I said that we couldn't start our relationship back where we were. And so God radically saved me, radically took all the demons out of my heart. I literally met Dean and Jeannie saying that there's a hole in my heart that will never be filled. It will never be filled because I've never been able to find a person to fill it. No husband, no person, no family member could fill it. And I believed it would never get filled, ever. I would just feel empty and I would never have the love that I felt like I deserved. And finally, God radically saved me. And I'm telling you that hole is gone. It is gone. It is gone. It is gone. It is gone. And there's not 1 second, 1 day, 1 minute that goes by that I don't think that where I came from, poverty, my mom having to work all the time, having a meth addict father, having a drug, a alcoholic real dad that never wanted me, to having marriages that were horrible just because no man could ever really truly love me because I kept chasing things that I was used to. And so with all of that, I can tell every woman, generational curses are a real thing. You can literally grow up not wanting to be like your mom and you're just like her. You could grow up wishing that you would never date a man like your father and you might just date one just like you. And so I have a hard time forgiving my dad for what he did, but I do know that I'm working on that every day. And my stepfather, he's no longer my stepfather, but I just know that he was my dad since, I was 3 until I was 16. So I feel like he was my dad. He finally apologized to me like a few years ago and told me that he was really sorry about what he did to me. And I just feel like God has been giving me that freedom just through even apologies like that. He just randomly just apologized and said, I'm really sorry for what I did to you. And that was really healing for me. And even my first husband's mom was so horrible to me. She didn't want anything to do with me. She wanted him to pretty much leave me. She would do anything possible to get him to leave me. And she actually called me like 5 years ago and said, I'm so sorry for what I did to you. I should have never did that. And I feel like God just keeps sending people to apologize to me, to set me free, just randomly out of nowhere, saying, I'm sorry for what I did to you. And so even though I may have left every marriage with nothing, literally nothing, because those people didn't really love me, I feel like I have more today than I have ever had in my entire life. And I could be ashamed of being married twice, and this is my 3rd marriage. I could be ashamed of that. But you know what? I was survivor and I made it. And that's what I'm going to stand by. And I'm not going to beat myself up for what I went through, because what I went through is who I am today. And so praise God.